On the other side of humanity's coin, we have Donald Trump Jr., who was in court again this morning. There he is. You hear the protesters chanting, crime family, and that is basically what these people are, a crime family, a very dumb crime family, the Gambozos, if you will, and Don Jr., he's so embarrassing. He's on the stand, he's testifying in this $250 million fraud trial, and he has to compliment, he said his father is an artist.
Jimmy Kimmel slides a joke under the door. So Clean It sets off 3 alarms. The studio laughs. The internet howls. And Donald Trump Jr. sprints to social like a raccoon who just found the pantry. 3 hours later, the rumor factory prints a fairy tale. Don Jr. called the cops on Jimmy Kimmel because nothing says rugged truth-telling like dialing 911 over a monologue. Meanwhile, the only thing actually happening in the real world is Kimmel doing what he's gotten very good at this season.
With real estate. Yeah, he's an artist. He's Vincent Van going to jail with real estate is what he is. He also boasted that his dad is the father of hotel gyms. He said, maybe someone put a gym in a building somewhere, but no one did it at the scale of my father. He's saying that his father, the father of the hotel gym, is a guy who's never stepped inside one, okay? The amount of ass-kissing in this trial is insane. DJ TJ, of course, denies any and all wrongdoing and is instead going with the "our accountants did it" defense.
Lining up the Trump family's greatest hits of grift and grievance and letting them roast themselves while he adds a sentence you can repeat at dinner. That's the story tonight. Not the cosplay, not the thumbnails, just the simple sequence where a joke meets a bruise and the bruise starts talking. If you support Jimmy Kimmel, right, then subscribe to the channel and write one quality you like most about him.
I'm not supposed to rely on a big 5 accounting firm, like one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. I can pay them millions of dollars. I rely on them to do accounting, but I'm supposed to know more than them. By this logic, insurance companies are going to start suing patients for listening to their doctors. Right? Do you understand? Like, am I supposed to know more? Oh, Don Jr. doesn't know anything about it. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business guy.
I'm a business guy who had his elbows soldered together, and now...
Start with the mood in Kimmel's house right now. After suspension fiasco, he came back colder, steadier, and sharpened by a week of people telling him where the line is. You can hear it in the cadence. Fewer drum rolls, more receipts. He doesn't have to summon. Outrage because he learned something better. Boredom can be lethal when the target lives on attention. So he sits there, looks into the camera, and lists the week's Trump family heroics. Another promise of miracle deal. Another merch drop disguised as patriotism.
Don and Milan, who partied it up with all the Mar-a-Lago ghouls. This is the first time Melania has been seen with her husband in many months. The Trumps were, as you can see, not in costume. If I was Melania, I would have gone as Stormy Daniels, just to mess with them, right?
And he says what everyone else is too polite to say out loud. It's greed. It's hypocrisy. It's duplicity. He doesn't scream it. He shrugs it. And that shrug is a sledgehammer because it tells the audience, you're not crazy. This is as tacky as it looks. Cue the inevitable cutaway to Don Jr., the monarchy's most online herald, who can't resist turning his dad's worst days into contempt.
But it looks like it was some party. One of these presidents is wearing a mask. I'm not sure which one. Another guest at the party dressed up as Hunter Biden and brought a blow-up doll, which I'm sure Rudy Giuliani ended up going home with. And while Don Jr. was in New York preparing to testify in court, his fiancée Kimberly was at the party dressed up as Trump's constituent, Snow White. Don Jr. was not at Daddy Donald's last night. The prodigal son was being grilled as part of the $250 million case against their business. There he is, tiny soprano. I wonder what's going through his head right now.
I should have worn makeup.
Oh, yeah, good one. Here's the thing about Don Jr. What he lacks in intelligence, he also lacks in charisma, so...
Jr.'s brand is faux stoic outrage in 4K, always with a volume a notch past sane. He'll post a clip of Kimmel, add a caption about Hollywood elites, then press send like he's firing a starter pistol for the next sprint of nonsense. The machine spins up. Someone adds breaking to a thumbnail. Someone else pastes in a siren, and suddenly an easily disproved sentence is script supervised into a blockbuster. Don Jr. called the cops on Kimmel. Of course he didn't. If he had, there would be a precinct, a date, and a report number.
I move my arms like a Muppet all the time. And with all the complaining the Trumps do about this trial playing out in the media, you could barely even turn the channel without seeing their lawyer doing an interview with somebody.
What have they been asking the kids? And tell me how they fit into all of this.
They don't fit into all of this. What have they been asking the kids? It's very simple. They'll ask the kids, did you give a value to somebody? Did you do something? And everybody said resoundingly no. And these kids did nothing wrong. They should not be in this case. Ivanka's already out of the case. The boys should not be in the case.
That's right. They're just boys. They're kids. Eric has a book report due this weekend. They're both still wearing pull-ups. They're on trial? I mean, come on.
The family's eternal need to be cast as warriors in a saga where every punchline is a felony and every audience laugh is an assault. They crave that mythology because it turns humiliation into heroism. It also sells the mugs. Kimmel, bless him, doesn't take the bait. He has a better one. He plays the tape where Trump brags about his genius. Promises an achievement he will definitely deliver this time. Pivots to the fundraiser with the gold foiled tickets, and then shouts about witch hunts while lawyers whisper about billable hours.
When Donald Trump gave a crowd in Indiana, Pennsylvania, yet another review of my performance at the Academy Awards.
Remember the Academy Awards? I said how he's the worst host in the history of the Academy Awards, and this stupid guy goes up, and just before the Best Picture of the Year, the show is almost over. They're waiting for the Best Picture of the Year. He gets up and he says, and his wife said, please don't do it. Please, darling, don't go out. His manager said, don't do it. I have to do it. He goes out and reads my truth to the entire audience right before the prime time, the Best Picture. And it said, basically, he is the worst host of the history. He reads the whole thing. And then I think he said something like, ha, ha, ha. He thinks he bothers me or some crap like that. I said, he's one of the dumbest human beings ever. He should have listened to his wife. What a dope.
He cuts to Junior flexing in a trucker hat. With a ring light you can see reflected in his eyes, barking about freedom in a voice that thinks gravel equals gravitas. He cuts to Eric promoting a memoir you can skim in an airport and still land with time to. Spare. A book so breathless about the family mythology, it practically faints onto the blurbs. Then he turns back to the camera and gives you a single sentence that holds the whole carnival in place.
He's confusing me with one of his sons again. Do you think he's flirting with me? What is this? When I die, I would like that to be the clip they play at the Emmys in memoriam montage. He even worked my wife in there. Should I be worried that Trump has mentioned my wife more times at his rallies this year than his own? I also want to point out the Oscars were more than 6 months ago. He's still stewing over this joke. He keeps bringing it up, which I don't mind at all. In fact, I love it. I just wish he would quote it correctly. I didn't say, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me.
So much greed, so much hypocrisy, so much duplicity. Nothing fancy, just oxygen after a week of hot air. It's worth pausing on why this version of Kimmel is connected. He's figured out the modern attention economy's worst-kept secret. Spectacle is fragile. It needs fear to feel big. Laughter shrinks it to size. If you scream at a spectacle, it feeds. If you yawn at it, it dies. So Kimmel yawns while holding the receipts to the lens.
Don and Don Jr. had some father and son event this weekend. They went to the UFC fight at Madison Square Garden. There they are. Trump's being cheered on. With he's got Dana White there. He's got Tucker Carlson in the back. He's got Kid Rock in tow. And, of course, oh, yeah, there we go, a little fist bump. Don Jr. was thrilled to be a part of the group. He posted this picture of him and Tuck cackling in their blue checker print shirts. A couple of banana Republicans right there.
And he's not telling you to be upset. He's daring you not to be bored by the reruns. It's always the same plot points. The cash grab with a flag glued on top. The claim that losing is actually winning because the scoreboard is rigged. The new proof of persecution that turns out to be a court date they've had on the calendar for months. By the time he's finished, The studio isn't clapping for a joke. They're clapping for the relief of finally hearing a plain description of the show they've been forced to watch.
What I said was this.
I just got a review, and has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less-than-average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed-up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again. Okay, now, see if you can guess which former president just posted that on Tuesday. Anyone? No? Well, thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still... Isn't it past your jail time?
Enter the Sun's montage, which is now a weekly feature, because nothing explains the Trump universe better than the fact that every supporting character thinks he's the star. Junior plays the outlaw with a sponsored link. Eric plays the family historian with a shredder in the green room. The monologue uses them not as targets, but as exhibits. Exhibit A, Junior pounding out a clip about courage from a guest room that looks like a catalog called Rustic Masculinity.
Republicans, as you may have guessed, trust medical science the least now. They're down 22 points to 66%. And for that, we can thank the man who made America great again, Donald Trump. As I mentioned last night, Donald Trump was dumped by his longtime accounting firm, Mazars, cut ties with Trump. And yet his ties are still a good 4 inches too long, but because of this investigation that's going on in New York. And whenever there's a story about Trump's finances, this is what really gets under his rind. He fired back today with a 4-page response. It's the longest thing he's written since he threatened to sue Gritty for stealing his look. But Trump wrote at length, "We have a great company with fantastic assets. They are unique, extremely valuable, in many cases far more valuable than what was listed in our financial statement."
Exhibit B, Eric reading his own prose like he just discovered adjectives, then getting drag read on national television by a queen who turns a book into confetti and the confetti into an epitaph. The Suns want you to see devotion. Kimmel wants you to see the business model. Both are on screen. Only one is funny on purpose. So when the rumor cycle tries to level up the stakes, Don Jr. called the cops. What they're really confessing is panic. They know laughter travels faster than their outrage, so they try to handcuff it with a fake siren.
But the day came and went, and Trump remains at extra, extra large. He is still out there. We should have known he wasn't getting arrested the minute he said he was getting arrested. And I have to say, it's really a shame he wasn't arrested today, because what better day for Trump to get arrested than on Rosie O'Donnell's birthday, which is, wouldn't that have been sweet? Wouldn't that have been just poetic? It would have been kind of where it all started, you know?
You know, it never works. And not just because it's fake. It fails because the audience doesn't want a show to get louder. They want it to get clearer. Kimmel gives them clarity. He keeps a running ledger. He puts the family's press releases up like their missing cat, posters, and invites people to notice that the photos never change, only the dates. He says, here is what they promised Tuesday. Here is what they sold Wednesday. Here is who paid Thursday. Here's the court docket on Friday. Then he pivots to the weekend and reminds you gently that none of this is complicated.
As with all cases involving the family Trump, DJ TJ was sworn in on an upside-down Bible. He will finish his testimony tomorrow, and then Eric will testify, and then Trump will claim he's never met either one of them. But it's getting serious. There's even some worry Don Jr. could be tried as an adult in this one. Trump was not there in person to support his sons. He had a Halloween party to host. But he did lash out at the judge on Truth Social. He wrote, "There's no victim except me. Leave my children alone, Engoron. You are a disgrace to the legal profession." That's right, leave my children alone. It's easy. I've done it their whole lives. But I will say one thing you do have to hand.
It's a traveling act with 3 props: grievance, merch, and the word unfair in 1,000 fonts. There's a deeper reason the hoax lands with a certain crowd, and you can build your entire narration on this if you want to add teeth. The Trump project has always depended on reversing gravity. You punch down and call it honesty. You cash in and call it sacrifice. You lose and call it theft. A comedian who won't play along is therefore rebranded as a criminal.
And listen, I know your cognitive abilities are declining faster than the price of Truth Social stock, so if it helps, I'm happy to send you one of the many products commemorating what I said to you that night at the Academy Awards, so you never forget it again, like this T-shirt, or this coffee mug, or this coffee mug, or this coffee mug. There are a lot of coffee mugs. Maybe you'd like a hat, or a wine goblet. If you ever see Melania again, you can give that to her. Or perhaps you would like a bandana to put around your necks, or a sign to put on every hole of your golf course. I'd be happy to send you any or all of those items. Just let me know. They're my gift. And also, for the record, my manager wasn't trying to talk me out of response.
Even if the crime has to be invented, the Call to Cops fairy tale is not about Kimmel at all. It's about the family's need to be victims. Victimhood is the only glue strong enough to bond a billionaire cosplay to people who know exactly what a bounce rent check feels like. The moment the glue dries, they sell a T-shirt about it. Kimmel's offense is not cruelty, it's solvent. Now, let's talk about the thing that really drives Junior wild.
Only Donald Trump would defend himself against charges that he overvalued his assets by re-overvaluing his assets. He also lashed out at the Attorney General in New York and the DA, who happened to be black. He wrote, after 5 years of constant bombardment, this political and racist attack must stop. Now that's a good one. Rich white guy claiming racism. I mean, you almost have to hand it to him. That's like Hawaii claiming tourism. That's ridiculous. Trump is also somehow working Hillary Clinton into this. He wrote, why isn't law enforcement and the fake news media, which has been so destructive to our country, looking into the fact that Hillary Clinton and her minions got caught spying into the office of the President of the United States, a crime so grave that it once called for the death penalty as punishment.
He does not seek the confrontation. He does not beg for a split screen. He does not tag the prince in hopes of a retweet. He simply names the pattern and lets Junior run to fill it, because the pattern demands an actor, and the actor can't help himself. Junior delivers every time an all-caps rebuttal, a video done in one take, when it should have been done in none. A meme so stale it should come with an expiration date. And the monologue ages like a documentary you can't turn off.
The grand jury in New York is scheduled to meet tomorrow. We could see an indictment tomorrow. Trump might not have to surrender to authorities tomorrow. He might not have to surrender until sometime next week, if at all. The New York Post is reporting that Trump is in high spirits. They said his team is, quote, very pumped about the possibility of a big public arrest. For real. They plan to film and document it with their own camera crew. They want a shot of him in cuffs and will release the mug shot. They are loving this stuff, which, well, good, that makes two of us. Finally, we agree on something. I'm loving it too. I would enjoy that.
That's the difference between getting exposed and getting owned. Owned is a cheer. Exposed is a mirror. Here's your early call to action while we're on a roll. Drop the single Kimmel line you use this week in your group chat. 2 or 3 words. Tops: greed, hypocrisy, duplicity, or your favorite image, book and confetti. Junior's ring light, the courtroom swagger that dissolves at the clerk's desk. We're cutting a super short cold open, and your pick decides a first frame.
Jail to the Chief, starring the NYPD is on high alert right now at the New York State Supreme Court building. Officers this morning were ordered to suit up and prepare for deployment. A huge crowd of protesters gathered to support Trump. This was the scene outside Trump Tower where one lady finally got to blow that horn she's been keeping in her closet for who knows how many years. And then we have this woman. Well, I think he found his new Secretary of the Interior. This is,
The heir to the business got loud, because loud is the only product he has left. The machine tried to give the noise a badge. It failed. The audience laughed, then nodded, then went to bed, with a sentence in their head they can use the next time someone tries to sell them a hat as a worldview. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to America Facticity for more clean narrations and receipts that turn noise back into facts.